Anna, you're on the line with Forrest and Seth. How you doing today?
Hello. Hi, Forrest and Seth. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Thank
I
you for
don't
calling
know
in.
if you remember me, Seth. I called. You were the first person I spoke to on the line. It was you and Matt, and it was like months ago. I was so happy to see that you're on tonight because I wanted to thank you for that call. You were so gracious and gentle with me and gave me much to think about that has
Oh,
been
thank you.
hugely helpful. And I'm partly calling to follow up on some of that. Um, so, like the how is belief formed is kind of the broad topic. I've called a few times, and it's something I'm really struggling with. So I think it says I'm a theist, and if I'm
Right.
honest, I probably am still a theist. But
Okay.
I'm really struggling with that question, how belief is formed, because I'm very knowledgeable. I've read everything there is to read on this subject, I feel. And yet I find myself coming back to I'm still a believer. And I don't understand why. Like logically, all the things you've even said leading up to this in this call tonight, I can't disagree. Like the Bible is horrible. Like I've read it and all the things you said, like the God of the Old Testament is a monster and slavery is evil. And even the concept of hell, that we even have that as an idea is so repulsive to me. And yet I find myself praying when my little cat is sick and I can't help her. Why? Can you help me understand this?
Well, I'm not a professional in the field. I'm a frontline activist who came out of the faith. So, I've had many of these conversations. I will give you this encouragement. I guarantee you haven't read everything out there that
Okay.
relates to belief. There's a lot of good stuff out there, and I think we're all discovering those things from day to day. But even you, I think, are already ahead of yourself.
Okay.
Logically, this doesn't wash, but in your heart, emotionally, you feel fed and comforted by the idea of a higher power of reaching out. And
Mm.
this, I think, explains a lot of the reasons that many people who may not know anything about theology still embrace the idea of a God and a
Okay.
heaven and a master plan and everything happens for a reason, or, maybe someone out there is in control. And I think we have to have compassion for those people because it's a crazy,
Mhm.
chaotic, and often painful world to live in, right, Anna? And so there's comfort
Yeah.
when your cat is not feeling well and you love this a member of the family and you close
Yeah.
your eyes and you're expressing something. I think it releases endorphins in the body, which maybe helps
Okay.
to balm some of the pain. Maybe if someone is out there, they are
Mhm.
listening. And that's a feeling. I think that's rooted more in your heart when logically it
Mhm.
may not be true. And I think the start to that is that you already know, right?
Mhm.
Logically, it doesn't wash. I'm probably operating
Mhm.
here emotionally. I'm making kind of a hard thing, but it doesn't mean any of it's true. I don't want this to sound demeaning at all because I don't mean it that way. But we as human beings are really good at self medicating, right? We're meaning makers
Right.
and we do things, ritualized things in many cases that bring us comfort, that balm us when shit goes down and things are awful. And I sense that's a
Mhm.
lot of what you are doing. You feel comfort in the reaching out or in the bowing down, in the whispering the prayer, into going through those types of motions. Would that be accurate?
I think so. And I've thought that because I don't want to believe in something that I logically know is not true, and I'm not like the Pascal's wager sort. I
I
want
got you.
I want my life to be based on reality, and yet I keep coming back to the same thought patterns, and I wonder. I don't believe I'm indoctrinated. A lot of people are raised in a religion. And, if you're brought into this, at age 4 or something, that wasn't me. My parents didn't indoctrinate me. My mother was pretty much an atheist who kind of just went along with my father's light Christianity, and he was not hardcore. And the moment we kids were old enough to have any kind of opinion on the subject, we didn't have to go to church if we didn't want to go to church. They were very accepting of whatever we wanted to believe. So I formed my own religious beliefs kind of a little bit on my own. So it's not that. And I'm trying to figure out like why do I still keep coming back to this? And is it possible, and perhaps this is the most irrational thing in the world that I'm about to say, is it possible that God wants me to believe this? And that's why, despite all of my understanding and all of my research, I keep coming back to it. And you had mentioned a book called The Illusion of God's Presence by John Wathy, and that was hugely helpful too. But I don't know. I still feel like maybe there is more to it. When we look at our own personal epistemological frameworks of how do we come to believe things, is there not something to feeling? Like, is it possible that should be given some credibility? And it's more than just, it's more than just like the equivalent of eating a bag of cookies because you're feeling depressed, because it gives you something to feel,
Well, if I may, a lot of people who are, especially those who come out of the faith, like to say, well, I'm now committing to be a logical creature and I'm not going to be manipulated emotionally and whatnot. And they, I think, try to be Vulcans. They try to divorce themselves from the emotional part of the human experience, which is, first of all, impossible. Secondly, it's a cheat. I think we just have to understand the nature of emotion and make sure that emotion's not leading us around by the nose. But it's appropriate and necessary to feel things about the things we think about. This is part of the human experience. And I think if you have a feeling, that might be a first step into a conversation you may not have had, or an idea you may not have entertained, or a claim you haven't vetted. A feeling being a first step to you going to find out if it's true or not is totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't apologize for being a feeling creature. But I think we have to understand that almost every ideology, political party, religion, belief system, cults, truth claim, whatever, that is made in that context plays to feelings. And we as feeling creatures can be easily manipulated and led around. And so we have to will ourselves out of simply going with our gut only. And we have to say, well, what's here beyond the feeling? But feelings are part of it. So, make it part of your journey, but don't cheat the logical brain. The hard answers, they may feel bad, but they're still true things. And when you talk about belief, and I don't mean to lock Forrest out of this exchange, but I want to take another minute with you. When you say you believe, is it there's something out there, or there's someone, or do you have a specific God in mind?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I had been talking with Matt, and I kind of approached that subject, and he gave me a lot to think about, and I've been thinking about it, and I haven't been able to really fully answer it. So he asked me, what God do you choose? And I said, well, what if I don't choose one of the gods on offer? And he said, but you can't. Like, it's the equivalent of trying to play the lottery without picking any numbers. And I thought so much about that, and thought about, like, well, how did any of these religions come about in the first place? Like, somebody had an idea that made sense to them and made sense in the context of the world they were living in and in the culture they were living in, and it answered questions for them, and it resonated in some way. So why do we have to be locked into these old ways? Like, there is a lot that science hasn't proven. There are still question marks around things. And I don't mean to go off into woo-woo spirituality land where I believe the universe is conscious or some nonsense like that, but it is possible that there is something, a force, a consciousness, something that created all of this. And I don't necessarily know that means it's a benevolent God who's watching over us and loves us, because I don't see evidence of that. But I can't just write it off either. And as I keep finding myself compelled to these old ways of thinking, I wonder if maybe I need to give some weight to that. So to answer your question, I don't know.
I don't hear there's nothing that you have just said that sounds in any way unreasonable. There's so much we don't know. We don't know what caused the singularity. Was it we don't have evidence for that, so I don't lean into that. But we certainly have to keep our minds open enough and we have to be able to approach what we learn honestly and admit what we do not know. And I don't see anything, I just haven't heard any red flags. And I think you're a lot further along in your journey than you give yourself credit for.
Thank you.
And I think you might be punishing yourself because you haven't landed on the definitive answer, right? You're like, what if?
Maybe.
I don't know, maybe. And we hate blanks in the sentence. And
Yeah.
so we tend to want to fill them. Even when we don't know what to fill them, there may not be anything to fill them with, but I sense you ache to fill that blank. But the reality might be that you're like the rest of us. I haven't seen any evidence to believe it. I understand that religions and belief in another out there might give comfort. I know sometimes that's irrational, but I'm a human being. I'm going to keep my eyes open. I mean, all of this honestly sounds innocuous, and it might even be a healthy way to approach your day to day. And in that way, if you find evidence for a higher power, a first cause, a deity, I don't know, an agent out there, then you can call us and say, holy shit, guys, look what I discovered. Let's talk about that. So, Anna, what I want to leave you with is I think you're doing fine. And if it gives you comfort to pray over your cat, I'm not threatened by that. It doesn't bother me. Honestly, Anna, my fight in this world with religion is more about theistic claims and health threats and anti-science stuff. It's about the Christian nationalists who are trying to create Gilead. It's about the people stripping rights away from other. It's my fight is over here with all that. Is someone bowing their head and saying, please heal my cat? I'm not threatened by that. That is not my fight. And if it feeds you in that moment, even if it's not irrational, I can have compassion enough to understand why you did it. And, just keep your eyes and mind open as to why you're doing it. And I think that might be part of your journey forward. Does any of that make sense, Anna?
That makes so much sense. And thank you so much. I think I've been feeling kind of tortured because I don't want to, there are some kind of repellent things in religion. And
Anna, you're not omnipotent. You're not omniscient. You don't know everything. Nobody knows everything. We're all doing the best we can. And if there are blanks, we're just going to have to live with it. But we also keep our senses primed to try to fill them if we ever can. So, hey, it's an imperfect but beautiful existence. Enjoy it. I think you're doing just fine. Okay.
Thank you. So, am I a theist?
I have a couple of things.
Okay. Thank
that's
you.
Up for you. No, that's okay. To answer your question, that's up to you to decide. I can't tell you that. But just really quickly, if it's okay, just after listening to this whole thing, I have like a whiteboard full of notes here, and there's a couple of things that I just wanted to tack on, and a lot of it's going to be parroting what Seth said, but just a slightly different perspective that I think might be useful to you. We have this thing called terror management theory. It's one of the ways we explain where big beliefs come from, either supernatural beliefs, conspiratorial beliefs, whatever like this. And basically the idea is that the most terrifying, crazy, ridiculous, over-the-top, evil belief that there's not just any God, it's the most vindictive, terrible God you've ever heard of. There's a big government full of lizard people from another dimension that are pulling the strings and keeping us oppressed, and like no matter what belief it is, some crazy belief about what's actually in control of everything is a lot less scary than thinking about the universe as being unguided and thinking about the fact that we're in this alone and there's nobody at the levers. There are no levers. And when you die, you die, and that's it. And that's way, way, way scarier than anything else. And so having that as the basis of belief and where beliefs like these come from kind of answers a lot, to me anyway, about where we get behaviors like yours, the ones that you're expressing right now, where you are describing habit and, in my opinion, abuse patterns. I'm not a psychologist, so don't take that with every grain of salt possible. But like, you were taught this horrible thing. You were taught about this God that is, you would agree with us, is monstrous. You were taught that you're going to hell. You're taught all these horrible things. That is trauma. That is religious trauma. That is abuse. And now you're exhibiting behaviors that are perfectly in line with what you would expect from somebody who grew up that way. You are in need of answers. And the fact that you don't have answers is a major issue for you that is still holding you up. That's what Seth was just talking about. Nobody knows everything. You're not omnipotent. The fact that that's something that's still hanging you up is what you would expect from somebody who spent most of their life being told, no, there is a clear cut, very simple black and white answer to the universe, and his name is Jesus. You also are exhibiting the behavior of shaming and punishing yourself for having doubt and questions and uncertainty and not knowing. I like the word, shame is an acronym for should have already mastered everything. Every single time you aren't perfect, you feel this pressure, this guilt on you, this millstone around your neck, because you're used to having one book that you can look to for all the answers, and as long as you don't read it too closely. And so, like, what I'm hearing from you, I've been listening to you for this whole 15-minute call, and it's been amazing to hear the level of honesty coming out of you when you're talking about these things, because you're expressing a habitus of somebody that has been through the exact kind of abuse and trauma that religion provides so lovingly.
Yeah.
And you're expressing the exact kind of thing that we would expect from somebody who is now on their way out of that in the most honest and intellectual way possible, and just expressing their emotions in that way. And that's incredibly powerful. And you left with one question. You said, what if this God really wants me to believe? What if this God is real and wants me to believe this stuff? What if he fucking is? What an asshole to let you go through this. And like, I think, I think, you were talking about hell and how monstrous it is and how monstrous the God of the Bible is and all these things. And like, if this God really is real and really wants you to believe, and the motherfucker can't send you a postcard, like, I know some people who want me to believe and do some things. And if that's the way they're going about it, I'm not into it. And I think you already are so much stronger than this thing that's held you back for so long. And I would leave you with this, Anna, is like, the way I see it, you are in a very uncomfortable place right now.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of going to the gym. You start to lift weight, you get on the treadmill or something like that, and you are fucking uncomfortable. And when you get comfortable being uncomfortable, you become strong. And what I see from you is somebody who's stepping outside their comfort zone for the first time, and you are feeling that you're on the treadmill now, and you're panting and dying and breathing heavy, and your heart's beating like crazy, and you're like, what the fuck is this? I was sitting down comfortably a minute ago. I had my cookies. I was cool. But the thing is, if you keep pressing this button and you keep trying and you keep being uncomfortable, you don't have to do it all at once. Nobody has to do it all at once. But if you keep doing what you're doing right now, I think you're going to get to a point where you're comfortable with that discomfort, and to the point where you don't even notice it anymore. And it just gets easier and easier and easier. And you will become so much happier than you've ever been, because you're finally standing on your own 2 feet, and you're finally free of all these chains and shackles. And you finally you won't even notice the day that you stop praying for your cat, because you just don't need to anymore. And you can have a healthy coping mechanism of worrying and realizing that if you can't fix it, then it isn't worth worrying. And if you can fix it, then it isn't worth worrying. Because at the end of the day, worrying is as useful as trying to solve an algebra problem by chewing bubble gum. And when that sinks in for you and you stop worrying, fucking call me back and tell me how. Because that's it. You're just doing the natural, normal thing. And you can sit here and rationalize it and intellectualize it. But at the end of the day, you're a human being. And the day you stop hating yourself for that is going to be a beautiful day for you, Anna.
Oh my God, I feel like all choked up. Thank you for that. That you both have helped me so much, and I'm incredibly grateful. And everything you just said, that analogy makes perfect sense. I've been there. I went like really, really overweight, and I put myself on a diet, and I went to the gym, and I got fit. And I remember those first days and how hard it was, and thinking, I'm never going to get there. This is ridiculous. Why am I even bothering? And then when I'm like running 5 miles a day and it's not even winded at the end, so that is incredibly helpful. And I also want to thank I'm very new to the line and to this whole world of questioning things. And the folks in the chat that I just recently discovered have also been so incredibly supportive when I called in, and it's beautiful. And I just want to take a moment and thank them for that. I think you're
Hey,
both
Anna.
right, and I'm in a place.
Anna, what's your cat's name?
Oh, my cat's name is Gracie Cat.
Gracie Cat. You give Gracie Cat some scratches and loves for us, okay?
Oh,
And
yeah. Well,
Oh no!
I
Give them
her out of
scratches
the-
for everyone but me. Do not scratch your cat for me.
Anna, you're amazing. Keep us in your loop as your journey continues, okay?
I will.
And
Thank you
please,
both so
please go back and rewatch this call. Don't actually listen to our dumbasses, but watch the chat and see all the people out there that are sending you love and support. You've got
Lot of love.
a ton of fans here in chat.
Well,
Yeah.
so beautiful. I wish I knew them in real life. I wish I could give every one of them a hug. They're such beautiful human beings. It's been enormously
hug,
helpful. I can
Big
Thank you
hug, and
both.
thanks for calling.
have a great night. Bye-bye.
All right.
Take care, Anna. Bye-bye.
It's funny. I just got back from a few days away, and I've got a cat. His name is Cat, and he's we spell it with a K, and he has grafted himself to me. He's my cat, and he's got this thing that he does now, where in the middle of the night, as I'm sleeping, he will jump up quietly onto the bed. He has to go down on stairs because he has arthritis, but he can still jump up, and he'll quietly jump up and he'll walk right up to my face and he'll stick his face right next to mine. And I'm still dead asleep. And he'll go as loud as he can and scare the shit out of him. And it's terrifying because you've got this cat head right here. And anyway, but I am a cat. I'm an animal person. So when she said she had a little Gracie cat, I just and then you talk like what's your problem with cats, Forrest Valkai? What's the matter with you? Not a cat person?
I like things that aren't gross, but like it's a whole,
Hey, come on, man. We gotta promote that clip we all just watched.
Well, I'd rather not shill.
Okay, well, Daddy has a $2,000 a month red oak habit, and I am your production god, and you will shill when I tell you to shill. Dance for me, baby.
Go, God damn it. Why did my life come to this? Go to patreon.com/call-the-line and donate. God damn it.
This is what happens when we let live chatters write our scripts.